Good morning. Welcome back to my channel. I'm StasiaBliss, where we talk about Kundalini awakenings and all things life force management. I feel like I need a new slogan. If you have a good idea for that, drop it in the comments below. I don't know. We talk about Kundalini awakenings here, and that's the most vital thing. I want to talk about mental health and Kundalini in terms of Tantra, because Kundalini is really a tantric idea. It's really a tantric expression. So let me break that down before we get into it. But before I do, first of all, I just want to thank you for being here. This channel is a place where I hope you can come and find some things that resonate with where you're at. Find some assistance, find some support for a process that can seem very ethereal and otherworldly and like there's no answers out there for you. So I've been on my awakening journey for a couple of decades now. So I did a lot of searching and I did a lot of internal work, and I'm here to try to provide some of those little tools that I found along the way that I hope will help you. So thank you for being here. Please subscribe if you haven't already, and like this video so that, you know, it helps me out, helps me get the information out there, and also share this video if it helps you. Share the videos. There's a lot of people that are going through this process right now. We are actually in a mass Kundalini awakening. It is worldwide. And I've talked about this in other videos, that the 2020 events was a major catalyst for sending the collective into an awakening. So as we can also see in the numbers worldwide, that we are in a mental health crisis. And that is no mistake that these two things are paralleled. They are basically one and the same. So we have a world module about mental health. That is where most people think they need to turn. I'm not saying don't use that module at all. Of course, if you are feeling suicidal or you are having major mental disorders, that might be a system that you need. I'm offering an alternative that may serve you if it just doesn't seem like the other system is the one that you need, but you don't know where else to look. So let's look at Kundalini and mental health. And I've talked about this in other videos. So if this video doesn't cover every little nuance, please go look at some of the other videos. I have a very extensive hour-long video on Kundalini and mental health that I did a few years back that you can find on this channel. You can even, if you can't find it directly, just search StasiaBliss, Kundalini and mental health. I'll try to name this video something slightly different, but this might be part 2. So, so we've talked about, as the Kundalini awakens, your life force energy is shooting up your spine from the root chakra, from Muladhara, which is the base. It is where this life force is coiled and resting after, you know, you have it active in your youth. When you go into puberty, this is generally when this energy settles down at the base of your spine. We go through puberty. It's actually better to go through puberty with your Kundalini awakened, but that's not generally how we see it happening. But it is why, you know, getting kids into yoga and mantra and so forth when they're young can really help advert the Kundalini going back to sleep, and then us having to have this awakening experience. So this is what I've done with my kids. My kids been chanting and doing yoga since they were small, and they're retaining some of that as they're going through their teenage years. I'm seeing my teenager really have a very mellow teenage experience. He's very grounded in himself because of all the yoga he's done. That's just my point of view. But anyway, so let's get back to us who are awakening kind of like dramatically in our adulthood, because we didn't have this support. You know, our parents didn't know. We can't really blame them unless you had a yogi mama. Anyway, so this energy shoots up the spine. Now, this can be a dramatic, it can be a shocking, experience. It might happen, and I've covered this in other videos, but let's go over it again. It can happen during like a plant medicine experience, drug experience. It can happen during a sexual experience, a traumatic experience. One of my first awakenings was it was in an accident, being dropped on my head. So as an adult, that was a country dancing accident. I was doing the waterfall and going over the back of this guy, and he forgot and I landed on my head, and my life pretty much changed after that. Your spine is directly involved in this, so spinal injuries can trigger this, okay? Or tailbone injuries, landing on the tailbone. You can also just awaken from a spiritual experience that you're having, or like a divine love experience. There can be a lot of moments where this happens, but when it does, that initial like, wow, blissful moment can immediately turn into sort of like a nightmarish situation, and it can fluctuate back and forth. I talked about this in my Kundalini and bipolar video, where you feel like you're good and then you feel like you're not good, and then you feel like you're good and you feel like you're not good. That can be one of the situations, but also your body can be processing out, lifetimes, or if you don't believe in multiple lifetimes, genetically ancestral patterns through this awakening process. So then that can feel just really cruddy, okay? That can feel like you're just not able to get past this feeling. So that can make you feel anxious sometimes. There can be depression, which we've talked about in Kundalini and die-off. That can make you feel sometimes a little bit manic. You can have really psychic experiences during your initial awakening, and sometimes even later, because those chakras are blown open. You can find yourself having different psychic gifts. I mean, when I first went through my awakening, I literally went through this phase where I could hear everybody's thoughts. I thought I was going crazy. And I remember this day in a coffee shop, and I was sitting there, and there was this couple sitting there, and they weren't talking out loud, but they had this sort of like grimace toward each other, but I could hear everything that they were thinking. And when they were whispering, I could hear it in my mind. And I was like, what is going on? And I remember I started writing it on paper. And I was like, oh my gosh, I swear this is what they're talking about and what they're thinking. And this is what this lady is saying. And so then I just started like writing what I think they should say, and like changing the energy that I felt. And suddenly they shifted, and they like, their energy moved, and he went away, and she got into a relaxed state. And I was thinking, oh my gosh, did I just do that? And that was just one of many experiences that I had like that, where I was like, what am I going to do with this? And so you can tap into like really intense psychic gifts that can, again, make you feel like cuckoo. I also had an experience where I was just like able to open up the dictionary and just move the dictionary back and forth and start saying this poetry. And it was just like every word that I saw was like rhyming and going this order. And I remember my boyfriend at the time being like, stop it, you're freaking me out. Like, what are you doing? Oh my gosh. And it was just like, this energy was just flowing through me, and I couldn't stop it. And I didn't know what else to do with it except for to write and to, create and stuff with it. But some of it was very like, dramatic, right? And so that can happen in a cool way, and that can also happen in sometimes like a freaky or weird way, or maybe you can't get out of bed, or maybe you're just in a lot of pain. This can make you feel a little bit crazy, right? Or you can feel like you have undiagnosed physical issues, right? That's another part of this process. But remember, Kundalini is revitalizing you. It is clearing you out. That is one of the purposes of this awakening experience, is to make you, as I said in a video the other day, a clear vessel for consciousness. So the more we resist the process or try to stop the process, and that's where going to the mental health side of things can be tricky, because if it actually isn't a mental health issue, if it isn't a brain imbalance, and you start taking medications for those things, you can actually stifle your awakening. And unfortunately, it can be very difficult to reconnect to a spiritual level. Like a dear, dear friend of mine, this happened to him when he had his Kundalini awakening. His story is very fantastical. He was literally talking to birds and talking to animals and like giving his clothes away to people that needed them, and he ended up like on this hike naked, and he was just like having a really blissful experience. He wasn't on any drugs. He just was having an ecstatic moment, and this seems crazy, right? And of course his family freaked out, and they talked him into checking himself into a mental institution, whereupon he was given, you know, like antidepressants or some kind of medication, and they made him feel worse, and which sometimes is the case, but they also fried that spiritual connection. Now, this is a warning if you haven't gone that path and you're thinking of it, to try some yogic or mantra practices first, because he has been trying. I think it's taken him over 15 years that I've known him, where he's just now been able to start to crack back into some of that energy, doing so much repair work, so much herbs and healing medicines, so many hours of meditation, so much yoga. And for so many years, he couldn't re-access that energy, and he really regretted it. So just a warning that, you know, what feels like maybe you're going crazy, remember, like, you are accessing new levels of you. And crown chakra and third eye chakra opening, that can give you like very spiritual experiences. You can see beings, you can talk to beings, you can have like a really clear connection to the other realms, that when the Kundalini drops back down and it's time to integrate, which does happen, that's part of the process, you can feel like you lost everything. You can feel like, and this was part of what he was experiencing too, but then he just couldn't get back to there, right? And that was the problem with the medication. But when you drop back down to integrate, you can, like, I never accessed that extreme level of psychic connection as I did then, but it did give me an opening to where I was going. And I started doing intuitive readings for people, and that's when I started doing card readings, and this is way back in early 2000. And because that made me realize like what was possible, and I kind of followed that thread. And when I started to lose that intense connection, I started really working on my psychic gifts and started really like doing some practices for that, and so that it can show you where you're going to have gifts when this happens. And so I want us to bring in the idea of Tantra, because Tantra is one of the three branches of sciences in India and in the East. And so you have yoga, you have Tantra, and you have Ayurveda. So yoga is actually the spiritual practices. So all the body poses you're doing at your yoga class, it's a spiritual practice because it's designed to open your body up to this spiritual energy, to your Kundalini. It's designed to open your body to these frequencies. And it's actually like all the poses are opening up psychic channels. They're opening up your nadis. They're opening up the spine, and they're allowing your breath to become longer so that you can manage more life force energy. But what happens in that is you begin to awaken your consciousness. So you could have awakened through yoga. Your consciousness begins to awaken, and now Tantra comes into play. Tantra is the mental faculty. It's the ability you have to mentally think about things in a new way, to liberate your mind from lower constructs or more, smaller box. Like, okay, if you feel this, then this is happening. Like, if you have these symptoms, then you must be psychotic. If you have these symptoms, then you must have bipolar. If you are this way, then, like, that's the box. And I'm not giving medical advice. I'm not a mental health practitioner in the normal system, but I do work with these things in a spiritual perspective, from a yogic perspective, from a shamanic and ministerial perspective, caring for humanity's mental health through spiritual understanding. So that's my stance. So I want to put a disclaimer that I'm not a mental health practitioner at this time. So Tantra is important in understanding the process. Now, Tantra has a misnomer in the West. Everyone thinks it's just like sex. Okay, that's a very, very small portion of what Tantra encompasses. The overall arching theme, the meaning of Tantra is to liberate the mind. So the liberation of the mind around things that we used to feel like smaller around or taboo is generally thought of in Tantra, but it's not just taboo. It's like where we had mental limitations. So a lot of people have a ceiling mental limitations around sexuality, and that's why Tantra has like opened up that path and helped people to see that there's a spiritual way to connect and you know, all this stuff. And there's Tantra around other aspects of reality too, around death and cemeteries and so forth. There's a whole Agori sect of Tantrism that is around our fear of death, because a tantrika or a tantric person is going to have thrown off the limitations of the human boundaries, if you will, and it's said to be a quicker path if you are a tantric and you are taking the tantric path. It can be, they call it the left-handed path because it's taboo, or like it's not socially acceptable, right? Tantra is like not socially acceptable. And so to transcend that and go through some of the things that other people are going to look down on you at because they're living in a different box or paradigm, that's where we can like gain new understanding though about what's happening in this awakening process, so we can actually really support ourselves if we can get out of the small box of I'm crazy or this shouldn't be happening. And Tantra also is where we bring in not just death and dying stuff, but that brings a whole load of shadow work. So Tantra takes the shadow elements of our psyche, and this is also what happens in the dark night of the soul and why we need this third eye awakened. And why I say that in almost every video, and why I did the Tratak video the other day, candle gazing, great third eye opening practice. You can also find Shambhavi Mudra, which is another practice on my channel under yoga and meditation that is a third eye awakening. I think there's probably a couple of other ones, but those are two main ones, and Om chanting is another one. But this faculty, this witness, this drashta, this ability to observe, to step back from, to become a bit detached from, that is so important in your awakening, to be able to observe what's happening to you and hold space for yourself and be the guide for yourself. So that's a lot of what I teach. Is management is also learning to activate that witness capacity, learning to become detached and support yourself in the process as if you are the parent. And so shadow work is very important in this Ida and Pingala balancing, bringing right and left channels together so they can work in one. Shadow work means the positive stuff's not only important, but also the negative, because we're balancing and bringing together alchemically positive and negative poles in our body. So the mental health stuff, depression, anxiety, psychoses, anything that you feel like, oh my gosh, I shouldn't be feeling this, or some of the emotions like anger or jealousy or hatred, or some of the raw, rougher emotions that we try in the society to be like, no, we don't want to do those. And if you're going to do that, like go over there or get yourself some help. You know, we have classes for all of that. So we really look down on it in the society instead of looking at why it's there. What is the treasure it's bringing to us? How can we love that part of ourselves so it doesn't have to flare up like a giant monster? Because that's what happens when we suppress those elements and we say no. It's going to distort into some part of our life, maybe in a person in our life. They're representing our suppressed anger or our suppressed jealousy or our suppressed hatred. So now we see it. And that's why, in my opinion, and in the opinion of many others, but why we see the warring that we do in the world is so much like unintegrated, internal negative emotions, hatred within, for self, for life, for small things, but not loved about the self. And so many of us doing that collectively, it has to show up somewhere, because we are in a dualistic reality. We have the yin and the yang here, and it must exist. It's part of the wholeness. And the only way to come back to unity is to integrate that part in ourself. So this video is getting a little longer than I normally like to go, but as soon as we can love that part of ourself too, and we can accept that part of ourself too, which is what a lot of the yogic practices and also Ayurvedic practices, which are physical, the physical science of how to take care of the body. It's based purely on your type, your body type. Right now I'm studying about how those types correlate to the astrological wheel too, so I can look at your chart and understand better what remedies would help you and what yoga poses would help you. That's my current study, so I'll let you know when that's complete. But that's important for this Kundalini awakening to calm down for us, to lessen its intensity so we don't feel so crazy, is to do the integration work, do the shadow work, become the tantric, liberate the mind from the old paradigm that says these things are bad, or this feeling is unwanted, or we don't like this and we just want to get done with it. No, bring those into the self, love those parts of you too. This quickens your process. It quickens your process. This is what I do with clients all the time, is how to quicken the process by loving all these parts of the self. That's what I'm going to leave you with today. And on that note, in this day that I'm recording this, if you're watching this on Saturday, 4/20, this is the big Jupiter-Uranus conjunction with the Sun in Taurus, as the Sun just went into Taurus yesterday. So Taurus really represents our physicality and our body and our feminine nature, which is that Kundalini Shakti. It is our wealth. Taurus represents wealth, and it's an inner wealth with this, it's an inner beauty, it's an inner value. Jupiter is blowing that up today, saying, look how big you are. Uranus is like, surprise, it's you. Taurus is you. It's you, it's home, it's right here, it's what you value, it's in yourself, it's your personal value. I listened to Leo King this morning. I love that guy. Bless him up. He speaks truth, astrology truth, the best astrologer that I know. And I do some astrology, but he is beyond, and hard to get to, so, and rightly so. He was speaking of this conjunction this morning, and again, just echoing the same thing, like, this is not where you go find what's valuable out there. This is where you turn within and you find what's valuable in here, because this next decade and a little bit here of this energy is about what value am I bringing? And this is coming through your awakening. Your Kundalini awakening is bringing this to the forefront. And so working with yourself in this energy is #1 import at this time. I've been waiting for this year of the water dragon, for a wood dragon, for a really long time. This is the embodied Kundalini. That's the energy we're in. We're embodying who we are. And this practices to do this are simple. They're on this channel. Sometimes we need a guide to help us choose what's best and get like really refined, because I've got a lot of stuff out there, and I'm not saying do all of those practices all the time, but find something that resonates with you. Like, this I can do. Even find just one practice that I have on this channel. Look in the yoga and meditation thing. Find one thing. Do that one thing every day. Sit with yourself. Find how it deepens. Find how that practice, whether it's a mudra, whether it's a mantra, whether it's a yoga pose. Most of the yoga poses I have are in series on here. I could do some videos on just single poses. That could be fun. But just pick something. Pick something and work with it. Even sitting in easy pose, which is what I'm doing right now. this alone opens up these channels. Is this actually a very Kundalini supportive posture? And if you can't sit cross-legged and you practice every day to sit as long as you can, I mean, we had to sit in cross-legged for a really long time in yoga school and my legs would fall asleep, and we were instructed to simply observe. Your legs are falling asleep, observe. Like, your psychic channels are opening in your legs. Like, deal with it. Mosquitoes are biting you, deal with it. Sit still. Be with all these sensations. That was hard work. But it was also, when I look back, easy. Easy. It's just sitting still. It's like one of the hardest things we do in this culture is to sit still, unless we're like attached to our phones. That's externalizing it though. So this energy is like, go inside yourself. I gave you a beautiful practice yesterday on Tarmon for clearing the mental chatter. Try that each day. Going into this new energy that the eclipse just washed out the old, right? And now we're in this new, come to terms with who this body and being is, because we need them. We need you coming forward in this new world that we're co-creating together. Yeah, we need each other. If I can support you, that's what I'm here for. I can only meet with so many people live, but if you want to try to meet with me, please send me a message and I'll fit you into my schedule somewhere as long as I can. And otherwise, there's lots of videos here for you. There's lots of videos here for you because I love you and I want to support you and I want to make this easier for you, and we can get through this together if we just turn within, focus on the breathing, focus on our body. We're just getting present with ourselves. That's just what we're doing. Kundalini awakening is, can you be with your whole self? Period. Period. And you can, because you're beautiful. I love you. Namaste. See you next time.